Hey there, and welcome. When I say the word psychology, what's the first thing that pops into your head? I'm willing to bet it's something like a comfy couch and a therapist jotting down notes. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what modern psychology really is. And I promise you, it's a whole universe beyond what you might think. So let's get into it.
So let's just start right there with the big question. What is psychology? No, seriously, take a second and think about it. We toss that word around all the time, right? But if you had to actually pin down a definition, well, it's a little tougher than it sounds. Okay, so if you were thinking something along the lines of the study of the soul or the study of the mind, you're not wrong, historically speaking. You're in really good company, actually. For centuries, those were the definitions. I mean, the word itself, psyche, is Greek for soul. But science has moved on, and today's answer is way more precise. All right, so let's put these old school ideas to the test against what we know now. It's kind of like myth busting, but for science. First on the list, the soul. And yeah, it's a cool bit of trivia that the name comes from here. But here's the thing. Modern psychology is a science. And what does science demand? Evidence. Empirical evidence. Stuff you can see, measure, and test. The soul, well, that's more of a philosophical or spiritual concept. It's metaphysical, which just means it's beyond what we can physically test. So science has to say, sorry, can't work with that.
Okay, so what about the study of the mind? That feels a lot closer, doesn't it? But we hit a similar wall here. The mind is, well, it's an idea. It's abstract. You can't exactly put a thought under a microscope or weigh a memory, you know? So for psychology to really level up and become a legitimate science, it needed to anchor itself to something tangible, something we could all actually see. So if it's not the study of the soul, and it's not just the mind, then what the heck is it? Well, now that we've cleared out some of the old clutter, we're ready for the real deal, the modern scientific definition. And boom, here it is. According to the American Psychological Association, psychology is the scientific study of the behavior of individuals and their mental processes. Now let's really zero in on those key parts: scientific, behavior, and mental processes. Those three things are basically the foundation of the entire field today.
And check this out. This other definition adds a really important piece to the puzzle. It reminds us that this isn't just about humans. It covers animal behavior too. But more than that, it gets to the so what question. The whole point is to take this science and use it to help with actual real-world human problems. It's not just theory. It's about application. So that official definition has two huge parts to it. A great way to think about them is as two different worlds that psychology is constantly trying to bridge: the world we can see and the world we can't.
On one side, you've got behavior. That's the seen world. It's everything an organism does that you can literally watch happen. On the other side, you've got mental processes. That's the unseen world. All that internal stuff, thoughts, feelings, motivations. You can't see it, but you know it's there, and it's driving the show.
Let's zoom in on behavior for a second. It's really just any activity you can observe. Super simple. A child crying, a dog wagging its tail. These aren't just random actions. For a psychologist, that's data. It's a clue, an outward signal that can be watched, measured, and studied. Okay, now let's jump over to that unseen world of mental processes. This is all the stuff going on inside your head. Thinking through a tough math problem, that jolt of anxiety before a big test. You can't see those things happening to someone else, can you? But that internal experience is completely real, and it's at the absolute heart of what psychology wants to understand.
So here is the magic trick. This is the absolute genius of modern psychology. It's all about how these two worlds, the seen and the unseen, are connected. The whole game is using the observable stuff, the behavior, to make smart guesses about what's going on inside. So that unseen anxiety before the exam, it might bubble up as seen behavior, like someone pacing back and forth or biting their nails. The outside gives us a window to the inside.
But, you know, humans are complicated creatures. You can't understand us by looking through just one tiny peephole. So psychology doesn't just stay in its own lane. It's not an island. It has to borrow ideas and tools from a whole bunch of other fields to really get the job done. That's why people call it an inclusive science. And it makes total sense when you think about it, right? We're not just brains in a jar. We're biological beings. We live in complex societies. We're shaped by culture, all at the same time. To get the full picture of why we do what we do, you've got to look at all those different layers. So, a psychologist might look at anatomy to understand the actual hardware of the brain. Then they might pull from sociology to see how peer pressure works and dip into anthropology to understand how our cultural background influences our choices. It's all part of the same giant, fascinating puzzle. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We started way back with these old ideas of souls and abstract minds, but now we can see that modern psychology is a serious, evidence-based science. It's all about that dynamic link between what's happening inside our heads and what we're actually doing out in the world. And it pulls from everywhere to try and understand us, the whole, messy, complex person. And that brings me to my last point, and this one is really for you. Because at the end of the day, psychology isn't just some academic thing for studying other people. It's a mirror. It's one of the most powerful tools we have for understanding ourselves. So now that you have this new lens, this connection between your unseen thoughts and your seen behaviors, what's the first question that pops into your mind about you? What's the first thing you want to understand about why you do the things you do? Think about it.